hope everyone's well and welcome back to another weekly outlook. So cool. A bit of a choppy week once again, nothing too great, but it has become a lot clearer now. And we do like how essentially that previous week closed, but this week was, I would definitely say it was a bit dodgy, right? First of all, daily consolidation. We've just added to that. We went from one side to the other side. Not much else from there, right? However, the reason that I'm essentially not too upset by the current sort of, let's say, price or where it's headed, well, more the emphasis on where it's headed, is because when we look at these closes, when we look at what these candles are doing, and then we come and look at the monthly, of course, it's clear that we're headed lower, right? We've got the previous monthly sweep, we had the kick. This is likely to be a bullish order block. And now when September starts, which is literally tomorrow, we'd expect continuation this way. So from there, where can we potentially look for higher the monthly place retracements? It's a very tough area, right? It's essentially a consolidation. There's not much to work with, but the easy sort of route to go for is, let's see if we can get previous day sweep. Can we hit this volume imbalance perhaps, right? This may be an area to know. Past that, what we can also consider is, because we're coming from previous monthly sweep and it's a new candle, we may actually kick down quite hard first. We may get some expansion, then retracement, and then continuation once more. So both scenarios are to be considered, but both ways we're expecting lower prices on the DXY. US 10-year very much in line with that. Not a previous monthly high sweep. And of course, it is a bit consolidated here, but clearly there's been a kick down. That's the last major move. There's been a weekly OTE from this high to this low. And now, I would expect that we target these equal lows over here, which is great for the DXY, by the way. Euro GBP, of course, we came from that sweep, but we understood that it's very likely we're building a daily consolidation. So where do we want to go from this consolidation? Let's take a quick look at what we want to see this week in terms of news. So bank holiday on the Monday, not expecting much. ISM on the Tuesday for the US dollar. Jolts on the Wednesday, and as expected, ADP and NFP, because it is the first week of the month. We also have unemployment claims to watch out for, right? So a decent week, first week of the month, and I really expect it to set the tone. Not much specifically for the euro or the pound to suggest, this may be the time or the week that we get a breakout here. But for now, what I would say is, for Euro GBP, if you are still paying attention to EUG, just watch the moves between premium and discount in this consolidation. An easy way to approach it, I'm sure we've covered this before, but essentially if you take your range, which is this, and when I say range, I mean the consolidation, right? Of course, you'll be able to anchor a higher or low. You want to pay attention to, what's my premium arrays, what's my discount arrays. Now imagine, from here, of course, we're coming from the discount. The odds are that we push high. We're going to sweep this liquidity. What's the next sort of major array to watch for? This daily fair value gap and the daily order block. And also pay extra attention to sort of the higher, the deeper arrays, because if price is consolidated and it's not sort of coiling up, building like a triangular breakout pattern, there's a good chance it can go to the higher arrays. For example, instead of just the fair value gap, it may reach into the order block, and then from there give us a turnaround. Just a little nugget, something to know. Look at USDCAD first. We do have some CAD news this week as well. Great kick down, very good move. We're not in line with this yet, but we definitely plan to be. Great weekly close. And of course, on the monthly, I expect no less. Got previous month sweep, looks very similar to DXY, and has finally started catching up in terms of movement. Great kick down. On here, where am I looking at entry for? For any solid retracement we can get. Really and truly, this is the range I'd be using right now. If we can get a premium retracement into this, it'll be great. If it doesn't come, then it's likely the month will, sort of open up, continue, and give us a chance to align after. Because now, essentially, from here, we want to be targeting these lows down here. That is where we expect price to go next. If we go specifically on the weekly, you guys can see this was our sort of like market maker sell model target. On the daily, it's even clearer. That initial consolidation, we've had a bit of a AMD scenario, and we're in that distribution phase. So from here, we expect the next main target to be towards these lows and then over here. Now, this is a chart that looked good initially, right? And has become super choppy, as you guys can see, super choppy. So it's not something that I'm, majorly interested in just yet. I do want to see it give a bit more of a kick. Of course, it's leaning towards the same things, right? Essentially, the pair going down, which is good, right? That's what we like to see. All the pairs are in sync. Previous month sweep into monthly fair value gap move away. Great. We expect the next month to go lower. How do we align with this? What we ideally want to see is a bit of a kick away, so then we can go for some sort of retracement, right? If we can get perhaps for our OTE rather than trying to hunt for an entry in these sort of very choppy conditions. USDJPY. Also very choppy, very sideways. I would say pretty much exact same as USDCHF. The potential is there. The direction is there. We like it, but it doesn't look amazing. Whereas USDCAD, much clearer expansion, much clearer kick down, and actually areas we can hunt for a retracement. The big push there on the monthly, you guys can see it, and big push to these consolidation highs, which I'm not surprised. I did say, if this is the sort of top out and gold's going to top here and start heading the other way, which may be relatively likely at this point, we'd expect the all-time high to go AMD that way, all-time high placed in. Same way, if it didn't, we would expect it to go lower first and a longer term AMD upwards, right? So for the time being, I would be looking for continuation here if you are a gold trader. We have swept the previous few monthly candles, but the drawn liquidity would remain that current all-time high. I do think it can push for that. And once we've swept that, then we can consider, is it time for big retracement? Because this is a fairly big run on gold. Well, S&P, not a massive monthly candle this time around. Not bad at all by any means though. So cool. As you guys remember, we said, tap into that order block, move higher. Because of that weekly candle close, we expected this week to move higher. However, this week did move higher very slightly, but, overall just sort of inside, very choppy. It did take the high, but it sort of didn't really do much past that. Where do we expect price to go from here? Considering that we have a new month opening, there is potential for a decent retracement. Now, what sort of puts me against that is two things. First, our base case scenario in the DXY, we expect lower, therefore we would expect high here. Second, we've created this order block, used it as a support, and I think it's very likely for the time being that this candle can become an anchor, and that from this low to whatever high is put in, we'd expect continuation. So when the new month opens, I would potentially look for a previous weekly low sweep, but not really further than that, right? I would anticipate this low to stay in. There is a possibility this gets swept and price still respects the order block and heads higher, but for now it's a good low to use. It went into the array, swept the previous candle as well, and displaced higher. And lastly, big retracement, which we spoke about last time, our sort of B scenario, right? We had two scenarios where price would give a shallow retracement and head higher, or this scenario where it gives a big retracement and then heads higher. Still standing by that, right? What's likely is we're in the discount. This candle's closing in about 5 hours. It'll be the new monthly candle. It is very likely we're sweeping that previous monthly low, inducing a bit more panic. And from there, from that sweep, I would then be hunting for higher prices. That is when I would anticipate there to be a switch in price and a market maker buy model back up to the highs. So for the time being, that current low that sits in the market, I would expect that to get swept at least once more before we start that move higher. But yeah, guys, that is it for the weekly outlook. As usual, any questions at all, anything I can help with, please just drop me a message.